Welcome to Uniquely Brilliant, a podcast for creative, quirky, and extraordinary thinkers of all ages and the people who love them. We encourage, inspire, and provide strategies to motivate you to embrace your unique brilliance and realize your potential for success. Hi, I'm Diana Bader, also known as Coach Di. I encourage teens and young adults to become who they are and develop personal success through self-awareness and positivity. You can find me at freshcanvascoaching.com, follow and like the Fresh Canvas Facebook page, or follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Di.
Hello there, I'm Becky Berry. I am a performance coach who helps people level up their lives by smoothing out the relationship between their work lives and their personal lives. You can find my website at beckyberrycoach.com. I'm on Twitter at Becky Berry Coach, and you can find me on my Facebook page, Becky Berry Coach.
Together we are here sharing our thoughts, insights, and experiences from our own uniquely brilliant perspective. All right, today we're going to talk about reinvention versus evolution. But first, it is... Okay, long drum roll. Episode 100!
Woo! We did it. 100 episodes.
Yes. That's really amazing.
We're pretty awesome. I think we're pretty awesome. So, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to us for 100 episodes. Here's to 100 more.
But that's why our topic of reinvention and evolution is so apropos for today.
Right. Because if you go listen to episode 1 and you come listen to episode 100 or anything in the 80s or 90s, we hope you see a big difference.
Well, not only has the podcast evolved, but we have evolved.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
over time.
Right. I've rebranded during the podcast.
At least a couple of times.
Hush. Just once. Just once. And you're in the midst of it, so...
Sort of, but yeah.
There you go. So we picked this topic because actually I speak on this topic because I believe that just like Annie Liddick said, we're talking about the evolution of the female state, and I talk about women a lot. So I really got sick of that reinvention word because I think it doesn't, we'll find out why I don't like that reinvention word once Diana tells us the definition.
Well, okay, so I found this definition of reinvention online. It said the action or process through which something is changed so much it appears to be entirely new.
That's what I don't like.
Yeah. And as I was thinking about this before, as we were talking about it, thoughts that came to my mind is that reinvention implies that something is wrong to begin with.
Yep. And
also that it gives the impression that you need to scrap everything and start from scratch.
Right.
And when you're talking about a person, a business, I mean, there are times where certain things has to be done.
Well, I think a business can be reinvented, and a lot of times that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But a person?
Yeah, if we're talking people.
I'm not liking that. I'm not liking that. I'm not liking the concept that which this is the one I work with the most, that if you've been home for X number of years, 3, 5, 10, 12, 20, whatever that number is, raising your family, and now you're ready to go back to re-enter the workforce, you have to reinvent yourself. What? What's wrong with all that stuff you learned and all the things you polished up as you're at home, whether it's with your kids, elderly parents, whatever it is? You know, that's not something you've got to reinvent. It's something you want to take with you.
I think that's true at almost any stage of life. I mean, I look at people generationally, even younger people that, you know, you get to a certain place, you know, even transitioning from elementary to middle school, from middle school to high school, there's certain things that make you feel like you're wrong.
Yeah.
And you're not. You know, we start off, you know, I do a ton of stuff with personality, and a lot of that is very innate. And then there's the stuff that you pick up along with that. Mm-hmm. The stuff you're picking up along with that is you evolving, not reinventing.
Right.
It's just you're just becoming more of who you are,
right? Not
somebody else.
Right.
And that's the key. It's about becoming more.
I agree. So this just occurred to me. You know, you can reinvent a wardrobe. I think you can reinvent inanimate things. Okay. I just really have a problem, like we said, with reinventing
living,
breathing, sentient beings. How about that?
Well, that's saying you didn't approve of it from the beginning, and that's
right.
That's just not. I mean, well, that's your issue. That's not their issue. you know,
right? Well, and here's the second definition of evolution, because the first one is evolution, courtesy of evolution. Who did evolution? Darwin. Thank you. My mind just totally went blank. So, evolution is the gradual development of something, especially from a simple to a more complex form. Well, then I started thinking about that word complex, and I kept thinking of here's some of the synonyms for complex. Okay, I'm going to give you the funny ones first. Motley, variegated, elaborate. My word is richer.
Yep.
Right? As we evolve, wherever we are, doing whatever it is, we bring more to the table, and that makes us richer. As people, we have more to offer.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of this quote. My friend has this quote, I think it's from Alice in Wonderland, and it talks about muchness. And and I'm like, and much more muchier.
Oh, you gotta look it up.
Look it up. I will.
We'll keep talking. But look it up now.
Look it up now.
Yeah, well, it's going to be live. This is live search on Uniquely Brilliant today, because Uniquely Brilliant minds want to know. I kind of know what you're talking about, but I could no more quote it than I could fly to China.
Well,
but
go ahead.
And that's it. This is the whole point for me, is that when it says to simple to more complex, well, yeah, there's a line drawing, and then there's a line drawing by Da Vinci, right? That's simple to more complex. But what about all that's been added to it? The depth and the breadth of your experience, and bringing that forward. And I think it's much easier to talk about reinvention because of what you said, that it's all or nothing. Yeah. Right? It's like, here, let's just reinvent it so it's not recognizable anymore.
Well, and what I love about evolution is that the way I was interpreting it is it's about adaptation, and it's about something we do all the time with coaching, is start where you are.
Right.
A friend of mine was asking me the other day about the difference between counseling and coaching. And I said, one of the biggest differences is coaching helps you start where you are.
Right.
And move forward, not worry about everything else. They'll draw from things from the past to help you build something to move forward, but you start where you are.
Yeah.
Because where you are is important. It's, all
it's
the
where
stuff.
You are.
Yeah, it's all the stuff that, but not everybody sees it that way. All the stuff that happened to you in your life, good, bad, indifferent, got you to where you are now. And to appreciate that, and, be grateful for that, and be grateful to have a starting point to move forward from, is what coaching is all about.
Right.
It's about the forward movement.
All right, I've got it for you.
Okay.
I've got the muchness quote. It's way... Here you go. Can you read it?
Yep. You are not the same as you were before, he said. You were muchier.
Much more.
Muchier. You were much more muchier. You've lost your muchness.
Uh-huh. I like that.
And nobody should lose their muchness.
I agree. I think, well, nobody should throw it away.
Yeah.
Nobody should throw it away.
Yeah, don't scrap it. Don't scrap it.
Reinvent, and you go, if the point of reinvention is that the thing that was there before is no longer there, or no longer recognizable, no. Just,
Yeah.
No. That's so 1950s to me. Do you know? That's so early 20th century. You've just got to scrap everything and start over so it'll be nice and new and shiny, and there's no past, and there's nothing attached to it. Let's just go forward.
Well, you know what, though? I see that in a lot of things. I see that with a lot of history. That people, when I was in Europe, they scrapped history to build on top of history to create a new history. And it's like...
Right.
And to do that to a person, especially in their lifetime, is ridiculous.
Exactly. Well, I mean, we do that all the time. That's the suburban dream. Get rid of all the history and make this like cookie cutter thing. That's what they're doing in Alpharetta right now. I'm like, okay, guys, there's no flavor. Because that's what the flavor is. What's happened in the past. That's the richness. That's the muchness, right?
Well, and that's what I find really interesting as you go around the country. There are some places that are much more likely to hold on to their history, and there are other people that are more likely to build on top of it or over it or hide it or whatever else.
Well, it can be, towns that actually border each other, like Roswell and Alpharetta, or like that. Yeah, I agree. And I think people are the same way. I think that it might seem like it's going to be easier to jettison everything. Yeah. To reinvent. But that stuff's still there. So if instead of trying to jettison it, pretend like it didn't happen, whatever, if you look at it like it's what makes you rich, it's what makes you interesting, it's what makes you complex, then it's not something to be feared. Because when you jettison something, you're scared of it. I mean, really. Well, right? Really.
Yeah, it depends which perspective you go into it. Because I'm looking at, purging my house right now of a lot of things. And, but it's really interesting doing this because there are certain things that are definitely coming with me. I'm being able to see it from an evolutionary point. And it's not really a reinvention point. There are certain things that just aren't a part of me anymore.
They don't serve you anymore.
Yes. And so when I approach, just even going through and getting rid of stuff from that standpoint, I'm not reinventing who I'm going to be. I'm not going to take... I'm not scrapping everything.
There are also things.
Yeah, but I'm not scrapping everything because some of them have more meaning than others. And some of them add value more than others. Right. So this goes to that pick and choose kind of thing. Yeah. As you evolve, as you grow, there are things that are important to take with you.
I think so. I always have described it after decades of therapy, as anybody who's listened to this knows I've had. As the things, the scary things, the horrible things, the cancer, the husband dying, the whatever, whatever yours are, is they make these like little blobs in the tapestry that's of your life, right? But then when you deal with them, evolve through them, talk about them,
realize you survive them, get the strength from them,
just all that stuff, then it becomes part of the warp and woof of that fabric. It makes that fabric richer instead of just a flat piece of say plain fabric. It has some texture to it. It has some feeling to it. It's rich, and that's evolution.
Yes, yeah.
That's evolution. That is not reinvention.
Yeah. I think of the difference as you're saying that and talking about that. I'm thinking the difference of like stainless steel and wood. Wood's got the deep grains. It's got the knots. It's got all that. Stainless steel, you polish it, whatever. Right. And it's just the difference of, I don't know. It's just more. It's
pliable. It's changeable. It's plastic. Okay. Like your brain is plastic, the wood is plastic. A rock is plastic because, if that rock can wear away, it can change. But it's not reinventing itself. It's still rock. Yeah. It's just evolving to this smooth thing when maybe before it was a craggy thing. So, we get to have that, we have that same privilege. Like tonight I'm going to an event. It's called Women Only Entrepreneurs. And it's like nothing. I mean, when women go to this, these entrepreneurs go to this, these business owners, they go and they're like, I have never been to a thing like this before in my life. And it's because it was created by women, for women, strictly for women. We dance, we sing, we drink champagne, we listen to interviews. It's just so different. And the first time Stephanie told me we were going to dance, I went, I'm there. I will dance anywhere, anytime, whatever. Particularly around women because I don't care. But the older I get, the less I care anyway. So it's just so rich. And these women come in, and we were trying to figure out why we're having a hard time filling it in Alpharetta. I'm like, because women in Alpharetta who own their own businesses don't think of themselves as entrepreneurs. I call it bird brain. They're not allowed to evolve to that. They come from a place where people talk to them in terms of, well, what are you going to do next? How are you going to reinvent yourself now that your kid's in middle school, high school, college, off in life?
Yeah.
And they don't ever have a chance to picture themselves as someone who's evolved. And I mean, I know women who've raised tens of thousands of dollars for their schools and now have a business and don't think of themselves as entrepreneurs or salespeople. I'm like, wait, I was there. I saw you do this. Did you not raise $35,000 for this school? Yeah, well, but that's that evolution. They have, you know, you got to have an opportunity to evolve. You have to have some exposure to different ways of looking at things to evolve.
Well, and especially a different way of looking at yourself.
Yeah. But you've got to be exposed to somebody else who looks at themselves in a different way.
Yeah.
That's what I hear. You know, that's what I hear.
Yeah, there's got to be, unless you are the kind of person that can self-define, there has to be a definition out there, something to identify with.
Right.
Because it's very hard when there's not.
Right. Well, if there's no example, the whole thing is, you know, if this is the same argument as women in tech, why don't women go into technology? Why aren't they taking these classes? Because when you walk in the room, there are 99 men and you. I have so many clients who've been in this. I've got one now who's in her 40s who just went through this, a coding class. 2 women, 32 men. She's like, Becky. And, you know, she's like, okay, I can do this. But my younger clients who are in their 20s, they walk in, they're like, I don't think so. Walk right out the door. Walk right out the door. There's no model.
Yeah.
There's no model. I think it's easier to think in terms of evolution if you can see someone who's evolved. This is what I hear when I'm up in front of a group talking.
Yeah.
And I go through, I did this. I stayed home for 12 years. I did this. Then I did this and this and this. It's not like I stayed home for 12 years and I flipped a switch and all of a sudden I'm a different person. It's all coming with me. And they're like, I didn't know you could do that. I'm like, yeah, you can do that.
I see that, and I see that as a definite model. The other thing I think that we need to get to the point of is being comfortable with who we are and moving ourselves forward without necessarily a model. Not even though there's going to be pushback, even though, you know.
Yeah, but name 6 women you know who can do that, who live in suburbia. I'm serious. Name 6. I can't name 6 women who can. How do I know? Because they call me. I'm like, you can do this. They're like, I don't even know how to start doing this. I'm like, yeah, you do. Yeah, and they're like, no, Becky, I really don't. And and these are people. These are really. I mean, these are women who had great careers before. I'm like, Again, that's one of those things that sets you and me apart. And I try to really pay attention to that because they're like, I'm like, all right. That's why I came up with those conservatory classes.
Yeah.
It's because it's like concrete. It's like, it's concrete. And it's reinforced everywhere. You know, the mom's the mom, the dad's the dad, or you could even have 2 moms or 2 dads, but it's still always those roles, do you know? The worker and the one who's at home. And it's just so pervasive and it's so hard to overcome.
I have to think on that because
Yeah.
I that's not been my total experience, but
That's 90% of my clients.
yeah. Well, I can see that, and that's why they're drawn to you because you understand that.
Right. So it's just hard. It's just such a mind shift. And you have your group, right? You have your group of friends, and they support you, but they still.
Well, that goes to that whole who are you surrounded with? If you are surrounded by people, and which goes back to the group you're going to tonight. If you are surrounded by people that only see things one way, then you're only going to be exposed to one way of seeing things.
Right, and it's hard to find a place not to do that because again, that goes to that problem that I've discussed before. Why I created the meetup groups is that there's not a place where women gather, where you have an opportunity to see people doing different things. Because, you know, this goes back to that social media thing we've said before, and you've said particularly, that, you know, your feed gets homogenous.
Yes.
Everything looks the same, you know. I mean, heterogeneous. It all looks the same. It's not, so you don't really get to see that things can be different.
Unless you unless you take yourself out of it and do it.
And try and find it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, or like Stephanie did and create something, or
Right.
like you're doing and create something, That's
because I see that void.
Yeah.
I see that void. I was lucky because, I've always been in tech, and my husband was in tech, even though that's not what I did when I went back to work. But again, that's what makes me different.
But you know what? It wasn't until I don't think you were surrounded by other people that allowed you to kind of expand that thought and almost, we talk about giving permission, almost giving yourself permission to say, hold on. I know about tech. I've been around it forever. I know about this. I've been around it forever, and start seeing how all those pieces could fit together into something
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And recognize that need.
Well, and I also understand that I have some connections of people doing amazing tech things, and women who are doing amazing tech things, and women who want to invest in women who are doing amazing tech things. I went, oh, I have this, don't I? So now what am I going to do with it? How am I going to help both sides? Because I'm highly invested emotionally in both sides. So, that's always been there.
Yeah.
But I haven't really seen it. I have seen it, but I was scared of it. So I don't think I'm scared of it now. So I'm just gonna try some stuff out. Let's see. I have something on it's a Seth Godin thing. I'm pretty sure on my wall upstairs in my office. It says, "I'm looking for something that might fail."
I like that.
That's my motto. It always after the fact.
Yeah.
Oh, it failed. Yeah, I was looking for something that was going to fail.
I like that.
Right? I'm looking for something that might fail. So, yeah, it does help. I mean, it does help. And that's why I was so reliant on podcasts at the beginning. I think this is why some people don't listen to podcasts, is because they're kind of scary.
Well, they show you some truth.
If you remember my story, I'm going to share it again real briefly. And this is about evolution. All right. I'm driving around. I live on 4 acres. I'm mowing the yard with a big mower. Yes, I'm not pushing or anything silly like that. And I'm listening to Hack the Entrepreneur with John Nastor, which is one of my favorite podcasts. And he talks to different entrepreneurs and stuff. And I listened to 4 episodes in a row, I think. It's a big lot. And he's talking to these people, mostly men, about how they just keep trying new things. Oh, there's something new. I'm going to go try that. I'm going to try that. And I went, you can do that? Because that's how I've always thought, but it wasn't okay. And then I just keep hearing it and hearing it and hearing it. And all of a sudden it comes to me, it's okay to be like this.
Yeah.
I can do something with this. I can grow something with this. Actually, it's an asset where I've always thought it was a liability. Because, I was a teenager in the 70s. There's this straight line. You do this work, you go here, you work this way, you work that way, you work the other way. Of course, I had my dad who trashed all that and, evolved into something totally different. So that was a good model. But the point is, at the age of, what was I, 55? 56. At 56, I'm realizing, because that voice is in my ear over and over, and I'm listening to another podcast with entrepreneurs on it too, Unmistakable Creative, which is, differently deep and stuff. And I'm just hearing over and over again, it's all right. It's great. It's great that you're this way. So there was that, but I didn't have a group. Do you know? I didn't know where my people were. And that's why you have to, everybody say it together, network, because that's where I found them. So what did I do? The very first networking thing I ever went to, which is where I met Greg, was a tech networking event. Because that's what I knew. I was comfortable with those people, and I went. And I met Greg, and Greg introduced me and Diana like a year later. So, and that's where I began, that's how I evolved into my group. I don't remember why I went to the Chamber of Commerce, but that was a big deal. 2 people in there. And then I met Stephanie, and then all of a sudden I have a group. Now I've changed groups. I've tweaked my groups. I've become impatient with some groups. Because
you're evolving.
Because I'm evolving, and this is really, what do you think about this? I think I can evolve. I evolve faster because I have more to fuel it.
That, and I think you're at a place where you recognize that you're evolving. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the big keys I think that happens is people don't see that. Mm-hmm. You've got to learn to recognize, first of all, who you are, and then what you're evolving with, what you're taking with you, what you want to do. There's just so much more to it. When you were talking about that, there's a lot of faith and a lot of, belief that you've got to, if you want something, if something doesn't feel right, you've got to believe that there's something else out there.
And I guess that's
then you
my
gotta
number
look for
one
it.
thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That I can do that.
Yeah. And it takes a lot. You have to break away from the other voices in your head, whoever's telling you all that should stuff, the big piles of should. It's not, you've got to believe that there's something else. You've got to believe in what you do. That's how anything has changed in this country, in this world.
Right.
And is somebody who had a belief. They may have been told they couldn't do it for whatever reason, blah, 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 but they moved forward. They found people that supported them. They found people that identified with their idea and just gave them that energy to keep moving forward, to keep evolving into something else.
Yeah, I agree.
It takes a lot.
It does. It takes a lot of personal energy, and it takes a lot of support. I'm just trying to think. So let's think about each other. I guess people could say I've reinvented myself. Because if I think about it, well, some people, the people who've known me the most would not say that. They're like, oh, you're back. But the people who've known me at each stop along the way, like you've been, right? Mm-hmm. You've experienced this too. They see that piece of me. Yeah. So they haven't seen coming up to that. Where did this first play out in college? I have a degree in diplomatic history because I wouldn't let anybody tell me what kind of history I was going to study. So I picked that, and I could study any country I wanted to. That was the first time I was able to act out on this entrepreneurial, creative kind of brain and power, because I did it, kind of thing. Too funny. Very first time I've ever thought of that way. But, interesting. So I was just thinking of how people see me in different ways. Now, in my family would be just, that's Becky. Yeah. Do you know? Yeah, well, and I mean, of course, I got beat down for that a lot when I was at home, but, they knew it was under there. Yeah. I mean, I do see that because the thing I think for me was that as I was evolving and trying new things and stuff, I knew to hold on to myself. I mean, I was still trying, but it was kind of almost the opposite. I did not want to reinvent, but I was still seen as wrong. Yeah, but you never thought you were wrong. No, but I never thought I was wrong. So that's the difference. Yeah. I thought I was wrong. Yeah. I knew, I didn't think I knew. I knew I was wrong. So you probably were trying to reinvent. Right. Until you realized you were really just evolving. Becky, you changed jobs again? Did I tell you this? I'm not kidding. Apartments and jobs every 6 months I changed. Because I was bored. And it wasn't okay, but that was just that creative thing. Mm-hmm. Looking for something new strategies, new whatever. Thank you, Bo. He stopped that because he showed me something that was infinitely interesting. Infinitely interesting. Yep. I just want to go back and wrap up with saying that maybe it's just me and the way I think about it, but I think we're stronger people as we evolve into the next phases of our lives. Oh yeah. It's rich. It's rich because we take along what we need from what we've already done. We don't reinvent. We don't push a button and have just jettison everything else. We bring it with us because evolution is a much richer experience than reinvention. Well, and like you said at the beginning, we are not things in a inanimate way. We are people, and so there is just much more to us. Absolutely. I hope this was a heavy enough topic for episode 100. So let's figure out our stamp of brilliance, and we'll be right back. Alrighty. For our 100th stamp of brilliance, evolution honors the richness of our experience. I think that covers it. I do too.
All right, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, please share it with a friend. Also take a minute to rate it and leave a review on iTunes. Check out our website at uniquelybrilliant.me and sign up to have the podcast delivered directly to your inbox. Shoot any thoughts, comments, and suggestions to talk, the number 2, us at uniquelybrilliant.me. You can also reach out to us on our Facebook page, and don't forget to like us. And now you can find us on YouTube.
Here's to the next 100. Woo! Makes more noise.
Oh, that's a bad one.